So, good morning, folks, and welcome to my channel. I'm meteorologist Tim Ayler, and we can see what's driving our weather today. We got a severe threat up here with this trough just spinning up here in the northern part of the U.S. with this ridging. It's hard to really see here. So, if we change the model to the GFS, it makes it out better, right? So, all right. So, what we got going on? This is 11 a.m. today using the GFS model. Got this 500 millibar feature up here, ridging in the central U.S. Here, pretty typical mega block, right? But this flow in between here, going into Colorado, things like that, we're going to be bringing moisture up from the Pacific up into this area, which is going to bring the risk for heavy rain in this area today, right? And also, this trough is going to swing down to the east here and bring some severe weather and potential flooding as a boundary sets up down this area. Okay, so this will be today, Tuesday, right? Slight risk down in the southern mode and another mode, northern mode up here with a larger area here as well. Just a marginal risk of excessive rainfall and along the Gulf Coast, right? As we go into tomorrow, the threat moves further to the east and remains there, right? And just moves slowly to the east as if maybe that trough's just a little bit further east. Now, if we look at our convective outlook for today, we have overall risk of severe weather, level 2 out of 5 up here in North Dakota, South Dakota, and points to the south here with a marginal risk, and along the Gulf Coast here. Well, not really Gulf Coast, but the Atlantic coast of Florida, parts of southern Georgia and Alabama and northern Florida. Severe risk moves further to the east as the trough swings a little bit further east with a severe risk also down here in far southern Texas. Thursday, we still got a severe risk up here. Again, in the northern mode as that trough swing keeps swinging through ever so slowly here. Level 2 out of 5. And then they have this day 4 outlook, which we updated a little bit later today, roughly from parts of North Dakota, South Dakota here, Montana, Wyoming, a small portion of Colorado, and Nebraska here. Low predictability for the rest of the day. So what that means is they're not confident enough in the forecast to outlook this yet, but that could change in the coming days. So going out in time with this is the GFS. See how that trough is just hanging out here, right? This is 10 p.m. today, okay? I like to use the GFS or the Euro when it comes to this because it shows the whole flow pattern here. Maybe still some subtropical jet action going down here, and looks like a weak low, Baja low still offshore here, okay? And that trough is swinging to the south and east here, which is going to bring cooler, drier air to the southeast, all right? I know I already said that. And up to the north here, this trough is kind of getting pinched. This northerly mode of this ridge is kind of getting pinched off a little bit. So generally this flow goes like this, right? Interesting pattern. All right, 11 p.m. See how slow this trough is moving. There's not a lot pushing it here. Just a general blocking pattern. But you see this ridge here is breaking down some. This is 3 p.m. and hence severe weather threat is maintained up here in the northern mode into tomorrow afternoon. Another trough swinging on the west coast here, and then one down into the southern mode here, which is going to keep enhancing our flow up this way. Okay, so the only real ridging we have is pretty much this way here. So anywhere in this area where we have this flow, rainfall, and maybe unsettled weather down along the Gulf Coast here. But other than that, you're going to have lack of precip in this area for a few days, okay? So Wednesday, see how slowly this trough moves to the east up here. Fills in some, and this trough fills in too, starts to become cut off. This one out west, this is a huge trough swinging through on the west coast. This trough remains here. We have another one coming over Mexico, and some slight ridging down here to the south. General kind of a meridional flow still, which means there's some waviness to it, right? Another low back here. So these parade of systems moving through, okay? And we go through time with this. See this trough here digging again? We got maybe this trough here in parts of the Midwest, which we could bring more severe weather. And we still have that little low down here in Mexico that could help enhance the flow up this way still, and which is what I talked about with the excessive rainfall. That's probably going to assist with that, right? What do we see here in the middle of the country? We see a ridge building up here again. It's this perturbation, though, like a trough, a couple different waves move through the flow underneath it, right? Maybe MCS, mesoscale convective system, other things reinforcing that. So this is Friday. But you see how far north the trough is here. So most of our severe weather and sensible weather is going to be on the northern portion of this, with the exception of down into Texas here, okay? Friday, Saturday. Look at the large scale ridging building here according to the GFS again. Now we got this trough moving through the Midwest here, okay? Enhanced flow, maybe going this way. Severe weather looks like it might be likely to possible here anywhere in this area, okay? And enhanced flow along the northwest coastline and into California. Deep trough here, long wave trough, ridging this way, likely some warm temperatures in here, right? With still more of a northwest flow or zonal flow in this area. So not a lot of sensible weather even at this point, okay? Maybe a cold front, maybe trying to push down to the south here. This trough becomes more oriented, maybe with a more negative tilt, becomes positively tilted as we go through time here. So not as impactful. But look at this. Look at this trough along the west coast. If the GFS is correct in this, way down here in the desert southwest, going way up here. And you got this trough again, like we had about a week ago when this mid-level feature kind of stuck here in the central US. Could have some increasing moisture still here, okay? But it's interesting, we had a feature about a week ago move through here, remember? If we go back, see that there? Remember that's moving through? And we kind of get this other one, right? And see what happens to it. Kind of cuts off. Almost very similar situation here, right? But it kind of loses its punch into the around the middle part of June here. Troughiness remains along the west coast and reaching in the central U.S. So, what does that mean? The repeated rounds of severe weather, I think, moving through time here, is going to keep us very busy in the coming days as these different systems move through. But most of the severe weather is either going to be out west here or in the Midwest and up into the northern high plains, with unsettled weather continuing here for the Northeast, I think. You see how the different troughs move through, maybe some ridging building in towards the middle of June, and you have more of a zonal flow here. So we'll see what happens. But that's the flow pattern that we're talking about and sensible weather impacts. Right, so here's your storm net probabilities for today. Okay, I'm jumping right to this because I think most of y'all want to know how it's going to impact you directly rather than me analyzing it to death. So now that I showed you the upper level pattern, let's just jump right into it. You have this tornado threat is ramping up in the afternoon hours up here. So this is around 1, 2 p.m. East Central Time, Mountain Time. So right after lunch, okay? Tornado threat into North Dakota here. Pretty low, 10%. And then it moves to the south and east, and it's not zero even over the Denver area, but increases some over Bismarck and Rapid City and points to the south here, although the probabilities aren't high into the overnight hours. Tornado threat wanes in the northern part and may be a small risk in the Kansas and Oklahoma in the overnight hours as we get into tomorrow. As far as hail risk goes, all right, going back with this into the morning hours, we got a hail risk pushing to the south here around lunchtime and up to the north here, although pretty low. And then you see really increases in the evening hours, generally over Rapid City, up to parts of North Dakota, down into parts of Colorado, all along New Mexico and Texas, and eastern Texas, parts of Louisiana, and Mississippi as well, all the highest risk up here to the north. This is in the evening hours, 9, 10, 11, 12, and that risk wanes as we get into the morning hours, but still not zero even as we get into Wednesday. Wind, going back with this, we have various wind threats as we go through the day today, as maybe this MCS pushes further south and east. If we look at this real quick, what's going on right now, let's see, around this time, never mind. See how that risk moves to the south and east as that MCS is moving south and east here. It weakens and maybe reinvigorates as we get into the afternoon hours here. And up in the northern mode, we have a risk and maybe a little small risk here in eastern Florida. Okay. But not too impactful there, doesn't look like. And then as we get into the overnight hours between 8 and 10 p.m., wind risk increases once again. North Dakota, South Dakota here, parts of Colorado, into Texas here. And then we get into the early morning hours and it wanes with time. So that hopefully this is helpful for y'all today. We also do have the risk for heavy rainfall, right? And I want to talk about that next. As far as heavy rainfall, the highest amounts appear to be through Kansas and Oklahoma this morning into the afternoon hours, and then maybe some heavy rainfall, but not that much here, at least in Alabama and parts of Texas and the northern mode of this. Some heavy rainfall as well into Tuesday night. So highest amounts look to be in Kansas with that MCS moving through here in parts of Oklahoma, parts of Nebraska here as well, right, and up to the north. So we see why we have that excessive rainfall outlook there, and also along the Gulf Coast here. This is into Wednesday. More heavy rain possible in this area, right? This is total QPF, right? This is total precip over time. All right, so it looks like the southeast is not going to get that much, at least initially. But then we have this risk right along the Gulf Coast here. New Orleans, maybe an inch or two. Amarillo, Odessa, Oklahoma, Kansas, up into Bismarck, Fargo, and those areas, Sioux Falls. Again, you can see where the highest amounts would be, right? Generally in this area, and we talked about this, and right in the Gulf here. So if you plan on going boating out here, it's going to be kind of unsettled, I would say. So I wouldn't try to take your boat out next couple of days out here in the Gulf.